Are we going to wait for those 300 peeps? Heck no, we're not waiting for them. They'll come. So anyways, guys, like, let's just get this show on the road so I can mute this and keep adding people. So, hi guys, I'm Cleo. I know it's been a wild ride with Startup School since we moved to this digital platform. Thanks for being patient. I know it's been a little up and down. So tonight we have Brent Sterling in. He's like my OG. This is my homie from back in the day. We worked at Ryerson together. He knows all the things about social. He taught me everything I know about social, and I pass along all the information to everybody I know too. You guys know the drill. We're here. We're having a good time. Shelby, I'll send the slides as soon as I have them in the chat. And just for everybody asking, if they're not in the chat and I don't have them before the end of this, they'll be up on the website where everything always is forever and ever. These sessions, I'm recording them as well, and I'm going to put them back on YouTube. They take a couple days. It's not going to be as fancy as our other ones because obviously I'm just screen recording things. But that's what's up, and I'll update you guys about the 2 sessions we have next week in an email. And then don't forget to fill out your survey at the end so that we know that things are dope. We might actually be continuing this into the summer if we have Ryerson students who are still available, because obviously our mandate is to service them. So if that's something you guys are into, let me know in the surveys as well. Actually, I'll probably send you another one because I need data. Anyway, so I'm gonna knock it off and let Brent get to doing his thing. If we have any troubles at all with this, we have backup plans. We have things ready to go, and we'll try to move the conversation elsewhere. So take it away, B.
All right, hi. How's everybody doing? This is going to be a little bit weird because I just feel like I'm talking to myself in my bedroom. I'm going to talk today about social media strategy and execution. This was like the first deck I ever really built, and then I've just kind of added to it and changed it over the years. It is very much built in a way that is like, if you have an hour to spend on social a week, these are the major things that you should think about. It's not like if you're a social media strategist and this is your 24/7, there's far more than that you could do. But this is kind of built in a way that makes you think about social and social strategy and how to execute on all of those channels. So yeah, that's the general overview. So who am I? My name is Brent. I'm currently the performance marketing manager of social media at Shopify. That's just a fancy way to say that I spend money on our social media ads. So myself and my team are responsible for all of our global spend across 88 countries on every social platform in 8 languages. I've been doing that for about 2 years. I've been in social media since about 2011. I kind of started out in restaurants, just doing it for a friend. And then he was like, you can probably make money doing this. But it was 2011 and nobody was really hiring for social media people. So I started my own company, even though I had no idea how to do that. Did that for a couple of years, really got into like the tech and startup scene in Toronto. And through that, I kind of like built this network. I've run social for everything that you can possibly think of, from the Toronto International Tattoo Convention to financial advisors to restaurants to political figures and election campaigns. Then after doing that for quite a while, I took a job at the DMZ where I was the social media marketer. So I was advising the startups in the space on their social media strategy, as well as running the DMZs. And then I guess like 3.5 years ago, I moved to Shopify. I was initially on our like brand social team, which is more responsible for what you see going out on the actual organic channels. There, I was responsible for our product marketing, all of our international social strategy, as well as like major campaigns. Oh, Kelly. Oh, Kelly. You gotta mute, please. I mean, we can have a chat though if you want. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. Cool. So where was I? Yeah, so I started on the brand social team, which is all the stuff that you see going out on the actual channel, as well as like dabbling in paid. And then about 2 years ago, I moved to the growth team. And I've been doing that ever since. All right, cool. So why use social media? Hopefully nobody really needs convincing, but if you ever need to convince anybody to be on social, here's why. Because it hits every stage of the funnel, right? And organic social specifically, you have to think about every single stage of the funnel, because people that are discovering your business may be on your page, but customers may also be checking out your accounts, right? It can aid in every single section. If you were really going to break it down though, you can do like brand social and your organic stuff to try and do that top of funnel stuff where it's like getting click-throughs to your site or making people aware of your brand. And then paid generally comes in around like the lead prospect sales section. And then loyalty and customer advocates is back to the organic piece. Now that's not to say that you can't do top of funnel stuff through paid, because you 100% can, and not to say that you can't do bottom of funnel stuff through paid as well, because you can. If you're paying money, you can literally do whatever you want. Cool. So, oh wow, these are so small. I'm looking at the presenter version. So why use social media? It allows you to connect and engage with everybody. And the major thing to take away here is that it levels the playing field. It doesn't matter how much money or clout or whatever anybody has, because everybody has the same tools available to them, right? If you look at a Facebook post, there are only so many ways that you can put out something on Facebook. And really, at the end of the day, if you have good content that people find valuable, then you win, versus anybody that has all of the money in the world, right? Like, social allows for virality. That being said, you will never go viral. Even the fact that I've just said the word viral, you pretty much means that you won't. The other thing is that it's free. So that means that like you can use social for free, except for the fact that there's an asterisk there, because it's free in that it doesn't cost you anything, but it does take time, and time is money. So why not use social? It requires strategy and professional communication, and not everybody's dope at doing this. It's time consuming. You have to constantly learn and monitor. It is a grind. Doing organic social for a brand is so grindy. It like, you have to be on everything. You can't let a reply slip through. You're just constantly pushing out content. You will not go viral, and the internet is harsh. Trolls are everywhere. Do not feed them. Okay, so before you go about building a social strategy, the major thing you should focus on is your website. And I say this all the time, like, everybody wants to start on like Instagram, and they're like, well, I'm going to build an Instagram account. But the best thing to do is to focus on your website first and unfuck it. So because it's your hub, all your social is going to drive to your website. And that is where people will engage with they'll learn the most about your brand, right? That's where they drink your Kool-Aid and then they give you the monies, right? You just drive to the website, drink your Kool-Aid, give you the monies. It doesn't really matter what your business is, unless you're like an influencer, and then your business is still a totally different thing, but you're probably going to have to drive to a website so that people can like contact you or find out more about what you've done before and look at your portfolio. So really having like a clean, crisp website that is easy to navigate is key. It's the most essential thing. If you're trying to decide between like building social and unfucking your website, definitely unfuck your website. So here's a couple things to go through for your site. I am not a site designer or developer, but I'm married to one, so I kind of know some stuff. It's so weird because I don't know if any of you find any of these things funny. That's going to get interesting. All right, so first things first, everybody always, the one thing you want to do is rank for your brand, right? If you name, and before you're naming a company, Google it just to make sure that you could actually rank for it, right? Don't call your business iPhone or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, just go through and kind of check out that name to see how many people are ranking for it already, what is ranking, and could you outrank those people? It is not easy to rank first for anything on Google. So you definitely don't want to start at a deficit. I had a restaurant client, the very first one I ever had, called themselves Baker Street Station, which is the oldest London subway, like the oldest London subway station. Terrible, so hard. It took years to try and get them to rank just in Canada. So search for your brand in an incognito window. A lot of people tell me like, oh, I rank first for my brand, but they've never, Google is going to show you what you want to see. So if you're Google, like on your site on a regular basis, Google's going to show you your site first. In an incognito window, this is through Chrome, you right click, you go to incognito, and you then search for your brand. That will give you an actual ranking of like where you sit, right? You want to have a site description show up because, and if there's one thing that you take away from all of this is like brand perception. 100% of the time, think about brand perception and how your brand is being perceived on every single channel. You want to have a site description, and that's what is on the right-hand side. This is a random vegan organic deodorant company that I started with a friend when I first started at Shopify. It is no longer selling deodorant, but I use it a lot as an example here. So you want to have a site description. It's less than 147 characters. You want to have some high impact keywords in there, but you don't want to make it sound spammy, right? You want to provide value in your site description and tell people what they're actually going to see. You want to have a responsive design. That means everybody's been on a website on their phone. That is a terrible thing to navigate. And that's because it's not responsive. So the site looks really great on a computer, and then it looks terrible on your phone. Navigation, you want it to be 2 clicks for anybody to get anywhere. If it's more than that, dead to me, I'm moving on, right? URL discrepancies, there's a lot to be said about SEO, and I'm not an SEO. SEO is search engine optimization. It's how you rank on Google. There's a lot to be said about SEO, but ideally you want your URLs. So if you have yourdomain.com/about, you want the title of that page, your H1 tags, to also be about. Now, you can mess that around if you know what you're doing, but it's always best. You don't want to have your about page titled Our Team, because Google doesn't like that. Make sure that links on your website that go to other websites open in a new tab. That way you're keeping people on your page, right? Think about if I click to your Facebook page from your website, and then I kind of look at your Facebook page and I'm like, I'm not going to like this page. I'm not clicking back. What I'm going to do is I'm going to click the big blue F, and then I'm going to be like, oh, what did Julie do on the weekend? That's so great. And you're dead to me, right? Do not, and then optimize image titles for search. Do not upload images titled DSC_4597218, because that's not helping you at all, right? Put alt text on your images and upload them with at least some kind of brand recognition or something. Like, even if it's just your brand name and it says like logo or whatever the product is or something, that's going to help you, because a lot of people do image search. Whoa, did I go too many? No. Okay, sorry. All right, so social media icons, make sure you have them. Make sure social sharing is enabled on pages that you may want people to share. Make it one button click. Like, I just tweet this and I click it and it auto populates with your link and potentially the title. Open Graph is so big. in that Open Graph controls what you see here. So the image, the title, and the description. So very much for search, it's like meta title. Open Graph is the like social version of that. So you want to have an image optimized. It's 1200 by 630. You want to have a title or optimized, and that's less than 45 characters. You can go up to 95, but it will cut off your description. So 45 characters for any Open Graph title, and then a description can go up to 200, but generally you want to try and keep it under 95. Twitter cards is the same thing as Open Graph, but for Twitter, and they're a little bit different. But if you optimize for Open Graph, then you're fine. Pixels for retargeting. Every social platform has a pixel or some kind of version of it. That's what allows people to track you across the board. Oh man, do we type? Okay, sorry, I see that. Cleo, you're doing it. Great. All right. So, sorry, where am I? Pixels for retargeting. So that's why you get retargeted. If you go to a website, Facebook probably, like that business most likely has a Facebook pixel on it, and it fires every time you land on a page. You can create specific events. Same with like for e-commerce, which is kind of the easiest thing to think of. Like you can have page view, product page view, add to cart, and purchase. And every time you do one of those
Sorry, Brent, can you hear me? The PowerPoint has gone off your screen.
Pardon me. The PowerPoint has gone off my screen?
Yeah, so you clicked presenting, and then now we're just back on you.
Yeah. Okay, sorry.
That's cool. Thank you.
No, thank you. All right. Sorry, there's first technical difficulty. Great. Okay. Okay, so pixels, make sure that you have them on your site. Even if you're not going to spend any money, you want to warm those pixels up, if you will, in the future, right? If you don't put a pixel on your site today, and in 4 months from now, you want to start to do advertising on Facebook, you need to put that pixel in, and it needs to have those signals so that it can optimize towards that thing, right? If you put it in 4 months from now, it will have never, it doesn't even know what type of person is viewing a page, let alone buying your stuff or signing up for your services. So what you want to do is plan for that in the future and kind of put the pixels in that you need. At the very least, if you're going to start advertising and you've never done it before, I would say like Facebook/Instagram, because they're the same thing, is probably the easiest and most powerful. So getting a Facebook pixel up there is super important. Design and layout and your copy. Like, how does your copy feel? How does it read? What do strangers think about it? Like I always say, don't ask your mom about your website copy. Ask my mom, because she doesn't know you and she doesn't care. It's so important that every single person that hits your site, regardless of if they're a potential customer or not, understands what your business does. The very first sentence I read on your site should be accessible to me or to my mom or to anyone else, right? If you don't have that, then you lose out on, if somebody randomly came across it and they were going to share it in a message. Like if my mom sees a social tool, then maybe she messages me about it later on. But if she doesn't know what your tool is, it's definitely never getting in a text message to me. And then Google Search Console, probably the number one thing. I should really reorder these. So Google it, put your site in there, set it up. It will tell you what's wrong with your site. If the load times are too long, it'll give you like a kind of like a report card on if your site is doing okay. All right. So with all that done, okay. I'm just checking. I'm going back and I'm checking on the chat. Okay. So with all that done, right? Social media strategy creation. So these are the things that I use to build a social strategy. We are not going to go through all of these because these are all subsections of a massive document that ends up being like 30 pages long. But we are going to focus on the three major ones that you really need to understand. And that's the goals, target segments, and content themes, right? Those are the three main things that you need to build a social media strategy. So these should be relatively simple for everybody other than the content theme thing, but just bear with me while I get through it. So strategy goals, what do you want to do for your business, right? Like that's essentially what this is. So you write these down. Do you want to attract users or clients? Do you want to position your company as the go-to for X? Do you want to promote company successes or brand awareness, attract potential business partnerships, like all the things that you want to achieve that are going to kind of like thrust your business forward. And what everybody should always have is become a thought leader in a target vertical or market, right? Like ideally every brand should aim to be the first thing somebody thinks about when they think about that vertical, right? If you're thinking about selling a thing, I want you to think Shopify before you think anything else. Not that other big company. All right, so target segments. These are the people that you're actually going to try and hit to achieve to achieve those goals, right? So if you're looking for investors and you're looking for users and you're looking to become a thought leader in your vertical, then you need to keep all three of those things, all three of those goals in mind with like, who do you need to hit in order to achieve them, right? So users, clients, co-promotional partners, evangelists, investors, influencers, whoever that may be, right? And then when you're sharing to your social channels, you need to keep in mind that you are building an audience of all these different segments. So you don't want to necessarily throw one of those groups off by going super deep into another one. I mean, if you're doing investors, then it's totally fine to like just focus on user acquisition or customers or whatever that may be. But you just want to keep in mind every time you're putting it out, like, well, how will our co-promotional partners feel about this post should they see it? And then finally, the crux of any social media strategy is your content themes. This is the stuff that you're going to share on a regular basis, right? Super, super important. Is it like news, updates, blogs, tips and tricks about your product, service, or cause, promotion of partners, community news, like meetups, fundraisers, like stuff like this is really good for startups and like small businesses to like jump into community type stuff, or transparency, because the transparency side is something that big companies really can't do, right? Like, what are you doing? If your company is only 3 people, what are those 3 people doing? Like, bring people along that personal journey. You don't want to go crazy. You don't want to show people what you're eating for breakfast, but you definitely want to bring people along on the journey with you, right? You want to share your successes and potentially your failures, right? Like, people will identify with your brand and it builds brand advocacy. The easiest way to come up with like what you should share is go and look at your competitors, because you will immediately be like, oh, these guys are terrible and I hate everything that they're doing. Why aren't they doing it this way? And there's a content theme, right? Like, you will hate everything your competitors are doing and you'll be like, this is dumb, they're idiots. Okay, we'll do it better, right? That's the easiest way to start your content theme kind of like mind going. The other thing is like, what is a unique value that you can provide through social? So a really good example of this that it comes from back in the day. There was a company called CrowdBabble. They did social media analytics where you could compare an Instagram account to an Instagram account. It would show you like impressions and likes and most popular filters and all the things, right? And they were a social media analytics platform. So obviously their target segment was social media managers such as myself, and their goal was to acquire users, right? So by sharing content that I found valuable as a social media manager of like, all right, let's take big things in the world and kind of compare them to each other. So is it like Bernie Sanders versus Joe Biden's Instagram, right? or sport team versus sport team, or whatever you can think of, right? It allowed them to like kind of push into different verticals and hit different social media managers with interest in different things. And this was essentially what they were doing, right? What you share hits what you, so keeping in mind what you share, who it targets, and what it accomplishes. Are we all good? I'm gonna flip back over, and oh my gosh, there are 33 messages in there. Cleo, I just assume you're gonna stop me if I need to be stopped.
Assumption correct.
Pardon me?
I said your assumption is correct. I'll stop you if you need to be stopped.
No. That's everyone in my life. All right. So what you share, every time you share anything, right? You have to think about like, all right, what am I sharing? Who is it targeting? And what is it accomplishing? Because if you're not drawing this line every time you're sharing something to social, then like, what the fuck are you doing? Sorry, that was aggressive. But seriously, like, what are you doing then, right? Like, everybody can share spicy memes. Like, that's cool, but like, what goal are you achieving, right? If you're getting likes on spicy memes that have nothing to do with your business, then you're not really doing like brand social, right? You're just doing generic personal social, and they're very different things, right? I mean, everybody seems to think that they're like, yeah, well, I have social, like social is democratized. Everybody has access to it. The difference between a good social strategist and a bad one are they can differentiate what you do for a brand and what you do in your personal, and like they can draw that line. I'm not saying that like some personal stuff couldn't be shared on a brand account, but it's, you know, spicy memes, they don't matter. All right, platforms. I'm gonna try and blast through these just because like everybody knows what these platforms are. Now, this is always interesting because everybody wants to be like, but you have Instagram and maybe, and I know I'll get there. But these are the definite places to be, regardless of what your company does, right? The maybe column here is because they require visuals, right? Not every company is going to be able to just crush it out on Insta, right? And if you're managing social for, you know, you get a couple hours a week, you don't want to have to add more platforms that aren't ever going to bring value, right? Same with like Snapchat, you got to make like a movie a day. YouTube, you literally have to make movies. And Pinterest, like Pinterest is great, and I love Pinterest, but if you're not a visual brand, if you're a land development startup, you probably don't really need to be on Pinterest. But maybe you do if you can come up with good things to share there. So, all right, blog. And I know that a blog isn't necessarily a social platform, but it's so key in creating content that you can distribute and content that is evergreen. By evergreen, I mean if I read it today or if I read it in 6 months from now, it still applies, right? You don't start your evergreen blog post with like, as of today, March 24th, 2020. Like you don't, what you want to try and do is build blog content that is evergreen and always on. I think that Praveen has already done his startup school thing. He is the best content marketer I've ever met. So if you haven't seen that and you want to learn about blogging, just stop paying attention to this part and just go back and watch like Praveen's. But blogs do allow you to take advantage of like SEO. If there are specific search terms, it allows you to consistently have content. If you write 6 blog posts, you could at least share 1 a month for the next 6 months and then just start that whole thing all over again, right? So you at least have one piece of content that can go out to Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn every single month. Negatives of the blog are that you have to actually write them. And that, oh, pardon?
You lost your volume for 1 second, but it's back now.
Oh, okay. Sorry. It like clicks whenever I click the presentation over, I see it like flash on my screen. I'm like, oh God. All right. So like negatives to a blog. You got to write a blog. And that sucks. Like, it's not easy because you have to write well. You can't just like blast 500 words at a thing like you did in high school just to like get your book report in. Like, it has to be good because you're competing with everyone else. You're competing with like Braveen from Shopify, one of the best content marketers if you're in that space, right? But like, you're competing with other people that are literally taking this pretty seriously. So you got to be on point. You have to do your keyword research. You need to understand a little bit of SEO if you want to do a blog really well. And you need to consistently create content. You can't just write one blog post and then be like, well, I'm done for 2 years. That's not really going to help you. Facebook, everyone is there. Everyone is on Facebook. I know that there are lots of people that aren't. If there are younger people watching this and you're like, I'm not on Facebook, great. But like 2 billion people are. If you can 100% across the board say, look, out of 2 billion people, none of them are my potential customer, fine, don't be on Facebook. But like, then you're going to get to advertising and you're going to want to run on Facebook and Instagram. So that's what's dope about Facebook, and it has the best ad platform out of all the social platforms. Negatives of Facebook, always changing algorithms. It's difficult to gain likes. Advertising will get you bot likes. Organic page reach is 3 to 5%, if at best. There are ways that you can gain that organic page reach. What I mean is, like, if you have 1,000 followers, you're only going to hit 3 to 5% of them. What Facebook does, though, is that it slowly crunches down on you as you gain more likes to your page. But if you're very good at like content and understand your community, then you can consistently hit 100% of them. I've done it on small business pages as recently as like 8 months ago. So like that's forever in social media time, but like I've done it, so it's doable. Okay, Twitter is my jam. Love Twitter because Twitter gives you everything. You can do everything on Twitter. You can do your marketing, you can do community building, you can do business development, you can do media relations, you can do competitive analysis. All of that can happen on Twitter because everyone is there, or at least everyone techie is there, right? My like go-to line about Twitter is that like it's the people that understand the internet for good or for bad, but that's who's on Twitter. And you can connect with people that work at wherever you're actually trying to get into. If you're trying to do a deal with whatever company, go search them on LinkedIn, find not their CEO, you don't want to go that crazy, but like find middle management people that would be decision makers, and then cross-reference them onto Twitter. Boom. If you start making lists of journalists that are covering your beat and start to engage with them and share the content that they've written by tagging them, boom, you're building relationships, right? Twitter can be used for all types of social, which is it's the most versatile, even though it's probably the most stagnating and broken platform out there. Negatives. So yeah, stagnating new user adoption. It's difficult for first-time users to understand. There's a 280 character limit, algorithmic timeline, bots are everywhere. It's a pretty broken ad platform. If you're gonna spend on, and like I know that some media buyers can do Twitter really well, but they are few and far between, and it's very specific niches. If you're about to spend on Twitter, you better have already been spending everywhere else. Instagram, everybody knows this one. It's visually compelling. Instagram stories are dope, but essentially by being on Instagram, you have two different platforms, right? You have stories, which is more from your like loyalty and advocate side, and then you have feed where you're more top of funnel and trying to bring people in. I'll get to like the execution stuff in a bit. Okay, Instagram negatives. Everyone has taken this friggin' photo. And that's the negative of Instagram, is just everybody's just blasting out like, oh, working hard on a Sunday with like a coffee and half their laptop. And I can't. So ads are more expensive if you're only running on Instagram. If you are running ads on Instagram through your phone, through the Instagram app, bad. That's bad. Don't do that. Stop doing that. Run it through Ads Manager like a proper like media buyer. You're not getting the full you're not taking advantage of the full suite of Facebook products that really will if you're going to do paid marketing, that can really like catapult you. Everybody spams hashtags. There's no hyperlinking. It's difficult to use for brands that don't have visually engaging content. LinkedIn, gotta have it. You just have to. If you think about like from a legitimacy side, think about somebody, and this goes back to the brand perception piece. Somebody checks out you on LinkedIn because they're interested in your business. And if you don't have a LinkedIn page that says that you work there, and instead you've just written it in, what happens when people click on the business is that it just shows the people that have also listed that they work there and nothing else. So there's no description, there's no URL, there's no way for you to drive me to your website where I'm going to drink your Kool-Aid and give you the monies, right? So definitely have LinkedIn. The best example is like everybody has some friend that has put that they're a freelancer and then they work at freelance. And if you ever click on freelance, it's not a company. And all it does is just show you all the other dum-dums that wrote freelance as the company that they work for, right? That's not a good brand perception, and you don't want that to be your business. So there's that. Negatives, it's very like leadership, businessy focused. I mean, I've seen some brands like play in the more like Instagram-y space on LinkedIn, but it just seems weird. It's difficult to build a community. Their algorithm doesn't really like crush like on Facebook, you know, your post might last for a couple hours in feed and then it just kind of dies. On LinkedIn, their algorithm is so weird that your post could live for like 8 days. It's just being served into people's feeds for 8 days. And like if somebody likes it or whatever, then its algorithm will pull it back in. So you want to use it sparingly. And you definitely don't want to be posting like every single day to LinkedIn. Google/YouTube. I did say like don't be on YouTube or maybe be on YouTube, but you definitely want to set up a Google/YouTube presence. So that's Google My Business is the one side that controls like Google Maps. And if you've ever like Googled a business and the right-hand side of Google, you know, shows you like the map and their hours and all that stuff, that's all through Google My Business. So you definitely want to have that set up. And the other piece is like you want to set up a YouTube channel and link those two things together. Even if you're never going to post to YouTube, you want to set up a channel and then go into advanced settings and put all of your links in there so that because Google runs the internet, you want to tell Google like these are all the places that my company is, right? So that it will start to like index all of them. So if you look at say Shopify's YouTube, you can see that there's like a link to our site as well as like Twitter and Instagram and Facebook and everything else. You want that in there to like play nice with Google. And video, if you can do YouTube, video content is dope. If you can consistently build video content. The negatives are that you have to build video content. And that's real hard, especially to do real well. All right, so the rest, because I'm not going to go through all of them. Did you think I was going to go through all of them? But here, like the one hitters, Pinterest intent to buy is very high. It's more like it's less like a social platform and more like a search platform. Pins last for 4 months. If you're selling to women, it's like 65% women. Intent to buy is high. So that's the skinny on Pinterest. The skinny on, okay. That's going to haunt me later. I said the skinny on Pinterest. Snapchat, I can't decide if this platform is dying or not. It kind of is, then it kind of isn't. And like, you know, the younger people will definitely be like, oh, I'm on it all the time. Cool. That doesn't mean that businesses should be on it from like a building a social strategy and social presence for a business. Snapchat's got to be the hardest with the lowest return, unless you're just going to like consistently be on it. Tumblr, weirdos on the internet and 12-year-olds sharing gifs. Reddit, be very careful. Those are the hardcores of the internet and they will come for you. Do not create a brand account on Reddit. Create a personal account and go into the subreddits and like build karma up there. If you're gonna advertise on Reddit, generally you're gonna turn the comments off unless you really want to get ripped up. TikTok, I don't know how brands are doing the like dance stuff, and I haven't really seen anybody crushing that out. If you're gonna have a TikTok strategy, it's probably like find a micro influencer on there, and let them run ads for you, or like give them money to like build your audience. WeChat, WhatsApp, Messenger. WeChat is a whole other thing that I'm gonna like leave to by itself, but like WhatsApp and Messenger, one-to-one communication is definitely a thing. It's only going to get bigger. So those are things to consider, but I would consider the other platforms before jumping into those. And then the next big thing, because no one knows, tomorrow there could be a whole new thing. I guess I don't have Twitch on here. That's also a thing to consider, but that's more if you're like into the streaming and esports space. All right, channel creation and perception. So this is, I mean, I'm using Twitter here as an example, but this is kind of, this works for every platform. You just have to, you know, use your mind to think about each of them. But what does somebody think about your brand when they first land on your profile, right? And you have to think about this on a regular basis because you are, or your brand is your profile. So this is kind of a breakdown of what you're going to subconsciously do when you look at any social channel. So is it legitimate? Like, how many people are they following? If you're following 400,000 people, guess what? I think you're spammy and weird. If you only have 20 followers, I'm not quite sure if you have any influence, and like, why would I follow you? And then engagement with the platform. When you joined, how many photos you have, like how many likes, what your, how many posts you have, all those things, right? And that kind of cascades into Instagram and Facebook and everything else. So then you need to think about your description. Ideally, you keep this pretty similar across all social channels and even probably your meta description for Google. You want to tell people like what your account is about and give them a reason to like it. This is a very old screenshot because it's showing 500,000 Shopify merchants. But you get the point. So the next piece to consider is like, what are the last 3 things that you put out, and what will people think? Like, because this is what people are going to look at, the last 3 posts, right? On Insta, maybe they're looking at the last 9 because it's less scrolling, but they're going to look at the engagement on your post. If you have 500,000 followers on Twitter and your last tweet went out 6 hours ago and you have 2 likes on it, then I know that all your followers are fake. Like, that's immediate, right? And everybody can kind of figure that out. Now, I know that Instagram isn't showing how many likes there are, but like even through comments and things like that, people can still tell, right? So your brand is your last 3 posts. Even if your last post on a social channel was a month ago, even that is enough to make somebody go like, well, why would I follow this, right? So you need to consistently have content going out, and that doesn't mean every hour or every day. It just means whatever cadence you can keep up, right? If you can only post once a week, then post once a week. If you can do more, then do that. But think about the long term whenever you're posting, right? Don't post 7 times in 7 days and then not post for 2 weeks, right? Instead, you're better off to post every 3 to 4 days so that those 7 pieces of content make sense. So social setup, make sure you have something like Hootsuite or another service to monitor keywords, especially on Twitter. You can create private Twitter lists as well. This is the easiest way to like monitor people without having to follow them. So if you're, what's the easiest way is like journalists go out, create a private Twitter list so they don't know that you added them, and then follow that, like add all the journalists that follow your beat. Add all of your potential competitors to one so that you can easily see like, well, what are they sharing right now? Add potential customers to one. If you're doing like SaaS or anything like that, then add private lists around like, okay, well, who are the businesses that work with us now, right? Try and engage with your clients. Set up pages to watch on Facebook. So in your insights section, you can actually go and watch your competitors, and it'll tell you like how many posts they had go out and a couple different things. Like they're not giving away everything, but it's helpful. Keep in mind on any platform that shows like how many people you're following, don't over follow because your ratio is super important. You don't want to be Eminem here, following 0 people with 23 million followers. I mean, I know that it's Eminem, so it's different, but like this to anybody is going to say like, this guy's an asshole. Or this brand is an asshole, right? I guess it's a little bit different when it's a person, but it was hard to find a brand that was following 0 people. So make sure you have imagery. Make sure you think about your following/follower ratio. Have a description and have your website link and have similar usernames, and ideally identical, because people are lazy and they will share their Instagram post to their Twitter account, right? And if, say, for example, me, if I do that with your brand, I mean, I would never do that because you don't cross the streams. That's the next slide. But like, you don't want me sharing to Instagram and then having that auto shared to Twitter and having different names there, because then you don't get the tag on Twitter, but you do on Instagram. Except on Instagram, I have like 500 followers and I just post pictures of my kid. And on Twitter, I have like 2,000 followers, and some of them are like big deals or whatever. They're not really that big of a deal, but the whole point is like, I'm going to hit way more people on Twitter than I am on Instagram, and you don't want to miss out on that potential crossover. That being said, social media execution. So don't cross the streams. The scenario I just kind of laid out for you there, that is like, don't share your Instagram posts to any channel. Don't have it automated. That doesn't make it easier. It just tells people that follow you on other channels that you don't care about them, right? If your Instagram post goes to your Facebook page, then all of a sudden usernames and hashtags are all over that. And that as a Facebook follower makes me go like, these people don't care about me. So take that. You can share the same post on the same day to the same platforms if you really want to, right? Or if you really had to, then yeah, take the same picture and share it to all 3 of the, like, so to Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, and Twitter. Sorry, I've been talking to myself in my bedroom for an hour. It's weird. So take that image and share it to each of those channels. But write out the copy for those channels specifically, like augment it so that you can tag the proper username so that you're not blasting 30 hashtags onto LinkedIn. Now, ideally what you do is you kind of come out, like if you're sitting down to be like, okay, what am I sharing on social this week? You should be, say you're going to post 3 times in a week. You have 3 pieces of content. You should try to schedule those at different times on different platforms. So you don't want Monday to do content piece A across all your channels. You want to do like A on one channel, B on another, and C on another. And then on Wednesday, you put them out, you flip them around. So you have C A, B, or whatever, right? So like that is the easiest way to kind of tell different stories on different platforms, so that if you do have followers that follow all channels that you're on, they're not just getting hit with the same content. I mean, you could make the argument that they would eventually get hit with the same content and then potentially be annoyed, but it's easier to mix it up, or it's better to. All right, when to post. This is my favorite photo on these slides. Everyone take it in a little bit. It's a couple with a burrito as their baby. So the burrito principle is not my idea, but it came from like a Buffer blog. But it helps you to figure out like when you should be posting, right? Especially from an organic standpoint, you want to figure out when most of your users are online and when they're going to engage. I do this with my like personal Twitter all the time. So here are some like rough guidelines to think about and ways to start. I am not saying post 4 times a day to each platform, but you kind of want to think about when people would eat a burrito, right? On their like breakfast burrito, morning commute, their lunchtime burrito, their after work burrito, and then everybody has had one before, like in bed 9 p.m. just eating a burrito, right? Okay. So those are like the 4 times to kind of test out and like try at different times on different days. Infomercial effect is sharing late at night so that you don't have to compete with everybody. And the hope is that because we're all addicted to our phones, when I wake up in the morning and I like immediately check my social media feeds, your stuff is there. And then always be measuring and adapting. Things change, seasons change, everything changes. So even if you find like Sundays at 7 p.m. are crushing it for you, don't bet on that 100% of the time, right? I've had this happen before where we were like Sunday at 7 p.m. is the best time to post everything. And then around now-ish, but like not this year, it started to fall off because on a Sunday at 7 p.m., people were out. It was starting to get nice. And all of a sudden we were like, oh man, we need to reassess when we're actually going to post this stuff. All right, so when to post. Rough guidelines here. 4 times a day maximum on Twitter, unless you're at an event or taking part in a Twitter talk. Once every 2 or 3 days on LinkedIn. No more than 2 times a day on Facebook. I've seen very few brands be able to do more than 2 or 3 times without the algorithm really messing their day. Because eventually, if you start to post more and more and more on Facebook, the algorithm will say like, okay, this page is posting 5 times a day. We're just going to share the posts from that page to less people. Instagram, I say once a day. That's just to like make sure you're not spamming your feeds out. Insta stories, yeah, like more than that, obviously, but you do not want to be the like dash person. Especially as a brand. Like everybody hates that when they see it from friends. You don't want to be the brand that is just like, watch my 28 story long Insta story. So real-time events covered through Twitter and maybe Instagram stories or Snapchat. Constant content is important. I've kind of hammered that one down, I think, at this point. And then don't be the guy that shares every thought and every piece of content you see. That's the person that's like, I just woke up and now I'm eating breakfast and now I'm walking out the door and now I'm at the gym. Like nobody's that engaged with your company. So what do people want on social? They want authenticity, they want value, they want knowledge, they want to identify with others, and they want to be noticed. Everybody does. So like keep these kind of things in mind whenever you're sharing something. Like how are you bringing one of these things to your potential followers or to your potential clients or customers? So what makes people share? This is not a social media post at all, but it's the best version that I've seen of like making somebody share something. Most of you probably haven't seen my face, but that's a picture of me and my kid and my wife and her sister and her husband and their kid. And this is from like an IKEA thing that we went to years ago. Not years ago. My kid's not much bigger than that, but he is bigger. But we went to it a couple of years ago, and they had this staged in the, like, it was an IKEA event or something, that you could go in, give them your email, and then they would send you they would take this photo and send it to you with the IKEA catalog, right? Which is dope. So one, they did email capture, which is not social at all, but like the only two things that you're going to own on the internet are your website and your email list, and everything else is essentially rented. So that's why it's a beautiful thing that, like, one, email capture, and then two, what happened with this, as soon as it got emailed to me, I put it everywhere. I put it on every single social channel that I had. My wife put it on every channel that she had. Her sister put it on every channel. My brother-in-law did it too, right? We blasted this everywhere. And what did we do and then everybody flipped out because they were like, are you on the IKEA catalog? And no, we weren't. But like, that's the point. It made us want to share it because it looks so realistic, right? So thinking about those types of things like that, this made me share it because it was so good. Now, obviously, it's because it has me in it. But when you're thinking about what your social content is, like, how can you inspire or make something funny or show something to somebody that they identify with, or create nostalgia or provide value to your following, right? Like, those are the things to think about, is like, how can, and if you hit one of these and you hit one of these well, as well as like timing, like if you share it at 1 o'clock in the morning and none of your followers are online, then it's not going to go anywhere. So if you can hit one of these things and hit it well, then people will share your content, and that's how you'll grow your audience and grow brand awareness. So where to get content? As much as you can, create it, right? I'm a realist here, and I realize that like not everybody is going to be able to create a piece of social content for every single day, for every single social platform that they're on. So what's the easiest way to kind of get around this is finding other content. And I'm not saying like steal other people's graphics without citing them, but looking at articles. One of the best ways to do it is like set up a Google alert for your target vertical. So what I used to do with a restaurant that I had that was like a craft beer place is I had a Google alert come through once a week and share with me all of the news articles on Ontario craft beer. And then I would go through them. I'd find one that probably made the most sense for our community. And then I would share it and add in kind of like a brand piece to it, so that people then saw this restaurant as like a thought leader in that vertical, or like at least knowing of what was going on, right? And that has a positive feedback for your brand overall. And they would say like, wow, these guys really know stuff about craft beer, and they're teaching me about craft beer, so I'm going to go and give them my money. Looking at competitors is a great way to do things, like steal the content that they have. I'm not saying like jack their brand campaigns or whatever. What I'm talking about is like find articles that other competitors are sharing, and then write a better caption and schedule it out for 2 days from now and see how it goes. I used to like curate private Twitter lists too of different social media channels that I thought like, oh, they're creating good content that I can consistently like share. And then obviously you can create it, but you want to find a balance between primary, the stuff you create, and secondary, the stuff that you kind of like find and share. You want to create that balance so that you can maintain a regular cadence, right? If you're only going to write blog posts, which is a great idea, it's probably going to take you a little bit longer to write those blog posts out if you're going to do a good job at it. So in the meantime, you need to find things to fill those gaps, and other like news articles or even spicy memes can fill that gap. So, all right, the anatomy of social. How's everybody feeling? Are we all right? Are we good? Great. I don't know. I'm not even looking. I'm sure. Yeah, fab. Okay, great. Shelby's just speaking for the group. It's fine. All right. So, anatomy of a tweet. Here's a tweet that I put out when I was at the DMZ, which is like a tech startup incubator. If you're not familiar with it, real estate is an industry ripe for disruption. Here are 3 Toronto startups changing the game. So what have I done with this tweet? So generally with any tweet, you want to have 3 strategic hashtags: your subject, your location, and your brand personality. You want to have a compelling tweet that draws the user in. That's pretty subjective, but I think that this is. Hashtags are added in the copy. Twitter cards are enabled, so that's like Open Graph, where you see this like full title and full image. And then links can be shortened for tracking and analytics. Now, I know that you're probably saying like, but there are only 2 hashtags in there, and this says 3 hashtags, and that is why I've chosen this tweet, because I get to illustrate this what I'm about to tell you. So what I've done with this tweet is I've done a design thing where all you really need to know about this is real estate, startups, and a link, right? I'm through design, like through everybody's eyes go from the top left to the bottom right always. So you start with real estate, your eyes go to startups, and then there's a link, right? If you don't want to read it, cool, move on. I didn't waste any of your time. Now, why didn't I hashtag Toronto when I say like to hashtag the location? A couple reasons. One, the DMZ was consistently tweeting about Toronto and consistently tweeting about startups. So I would try and mix it up at times so that if somebody saw the last 3 tweets that I'd go out, they didn't see like me just hashtagging Toronto and startups and Toronto and startups and Toronto and startups, right? So like there's that. And then the other thing is that those 2 words are back to back. So if you hashtag both of them, they kind of blend together, and people won't really pick out those individual words. That's why when people are like spamming out hashtags at the end of their tweets, it just nobody looks at it. And like the worst is when somebody puts like a link in and then they put hashtags. And so like the link stays in there. Like, see how there's no link here? It's because I put it at the end and it embeds below. So like don't spam a bunch of hashtags and then your link, because it just looks messy. So here are a couple examples, and I'll kind of walk through like why we did them and what we got out of them. So this is like a phishing for awareness example. Now here's a terrible Twitter card that Tech Vibes didn't have optimized. So you can see that there's no image there, and their title's too long, and then their description's too long, and it's pulled like, ooh, bad. But so this is what ties all of John Ruffalo, who was the CEO of OMERS Ventures at the time. OMERS Ventures is the largest VC firm in Canada. So it's what does John Ruffalo of OMERS Ventures investments, or what ties all of John Ruffalo of OMERS Ventures investments together? The passion of the founder and the founding team, and then the link. So you can see this is an old tweet, because February 16th, like 2015. But the link's still there because that's what Twitter did at the time. Now, this only got 4 retweets, but it got retweets from John Ruffalo and OMERS Ventures, right? I wrote a tweet that was valuable to John Ruffalo, who had massive influence in the like VC and startup space, as well as OMERS Ventures. So John Ruffalo and OMERS Ventures retweeted it. That puts the DMZ in front of all of their followers, and kind of raises brand awareness. So like, and the other thing is that it was valuable for John Ruffalo because he didn't have to write his own tweet about that article. He just got to retweet it. So here's a terrible, terrible tweet, but it's a good story. So Phil Verino was the business development person for the DMZ, and he and I chatted through this tweet. So this was him promoting the MasterCard Start Path program, accepting apps for the next class. And then he put the URL in the center, so it looks just atrocious. And then he CC'd, oh my God, at Swiper, who is apparently not from Dora the Explorer, but isn't that the show that it's from? I think. But this dude, Stefan Wiper, who's the head of this entire program. So he sees him, which is terrible. Don't CC people on tweets. Would love to chat about how the DMZ can support. he didn't have a ton of followers, but the DMZ liked it. That made him legit. The head of MasterCard StartPath responded back saying, like, we're going to be in Toronto for pitch day in May. And then they reached out, and the DMZ ended up hosting this event, and they paid us to be in the space, right? And this is what I mean when, like, Twitter can really crush it for any type of business that you're looking for. I have other examples of that with, like, startups where we went and created private Twitter lists of mid-management people and started to engage with them on Twitter. And eventually they called the startup to set up a deal. And that was only because, like, we were just consistently engaging with a bunch of people there, that eventually they all came to, and they all had like 40 followers because they're mid-management people at a rando company. But, like, that's why you can use people's ego to kind of, like, drive them to check out your business, right? You just don't want to be the, like, spammy, annoying person either. If Phil had tweeted this 17 times, that would not go well. So here are some other examples, like a question, like where you just take a news article or potentially a blog post if you have it, and just, like, drop in a question like, is your packaging durable, scalable, and Instagrammable? Makes you think, like, I don't know, is it? And then you click through. I know that sounds clickbaity. What I'm trying to get at is, like, you want to draw that, like, thread the needle on the clickbait. Definitely don't write, like, you'll never guess what happened next. That's not the thing you want to do. All right, stat drop. This was me fishing to try and get Harvard Business Review to retweet this. They did not. But, like, you can try and do this stuff where we were driving to a content marketing piece of our own, in hopes that those people become aware of it. So Twitter, do not retweet braggadocious mentions. This is, like, the number one thing, right? You don't want to just retweet people saying your business is the best, because that is the equivalent of, like, somebody saying, like, Brent, best social media talk I've ever heard in my life, and me turning to another person and being like, did you hear what that person just said? Like, you want to engage with those people. There are a lot of platforms that if you sign up for them to, like, do your analytics on Twitter, they will share your, like, best retweets of the week, or, like, how many followers you got, that it's just automatically set up. Nobody cares about that stuff. Do not set that up. Don't spam a million hashtags on the end of your tweet. Don't tweet your Instagram or Facebook post. Don't tag users in copy that you hope will retweet. Especially, like, when you're doing this with bigger brands that you're just like, oh, if I tag them every time, eventually they'll retweet me. What happens there is the person on the other end of that platform gets really annoyed with you. And, like, you don't know who they are, but they're a person that's just like, oh, these guys again. And that almost guarantees that you'll never get engagement from that brand. And potentially, like, even if that other company wanted to talk to you, that social media person might go and be like, no, they're very bad. Don't ask for retweets. Very few can do this well. Don't share photos that are portrait. So many politicians are so bad at this, where they will take a portrait photo, like a vertical one, and they'll share it because the Twitter will cut it off. And generally what you just see is, like, crotches of people. And nobody wants that in their Twitter feed. Don't ask for people to like or follow. Don't use the same word in a tweet if you can help it. There are only 280 characters. The English language is a beautiful, vast language. Try not to just say the same thing over and over again. And definitely don't tweet the same thing over and over again. Don't tweet, come to this event, come to this event, come to this event. Because if I land on your Twitter account and I only see that, do you think that I'm going to follow you? Probably not. And then finally, do not start a tweet with a username, like an @ username, if you want people to see it. So say you hate everything that I'm saying right now, and you're going to write, like, you want to tweet me, but you want all your followers to see it too. If you write @Brentertainer, you suck, right? Then only the people that follow you and me are going to see that. They have to follow both of us. That's why people will put a period in front of a username, And that's only at the very start of a tweet. If you're going to write, hey, at Brentertainer, you suck, fine. That's going to go to all your followers, right? But if you write at Brentertainer, then all your followers aren't going to see that. So there's a pro tip on if you want to tell me I suck and you want all your followers to see it, I got you covered. All right, I'm trying to switch my AirPods right now because I'm afraid that one of them is going to die, and that's why I've only had one in. So if the audio goes a little crazy, then let me know. All right, so here's a checklist of everything that I just said, just written out for you so that if you've been feverishly taking notes throughout that, so sorry, here's a checklist. All right, anatomy of a gram, because that's what the kids call it these days, right? Okay, so here's the now defunct random vegan deodorant brand called Storm and Leaf. Leaf spelled L-E-I-F, like a Scandinavian name, because look at me. Look, the guy with the big beard and the long hair is definitely going to have a vegan organic deodorant company. But here's an example of what to do on Twitter, or sorry, Instagram. That's where we are now. It's really weird to just sit in your bedroom and rant for an hour and 15 minutes to no one. Okay. So the anatomy of a gram, high quality photo is done here, 4:5 ratio. So that's a little bit bigger than square, which is 1:1. It takes up the full screen. Hashtags are hidden. So I'm going to get into how to do hashtag research in a sec. I'll walk you through it. I tried to like build a slide for it because I've done this a couple times now, and I'm like, oh, I should really have a slide. And then I didn't. I just wrote out things. So you want to have a consistent brand aesthetic, and what you want to do here because everybody's going to want to spam hashtags. It is, I will say, it's the easiest way to like build a brand from the ground up is like just blast hashtags into your copy. But it can come off in a real negative way too, right? Like you don't want people to think like, oh, they're just like spamming hashtags out there. So when I was building this thing, I kind of like took a step back from it, and then what I did is I started putting, so you can see on this slide, all these hashtags are in there, and then in a comment, and then I comment again with an emoji, and it looks like this in a feed, right? Which is dope, because it looks nice and clean. Now, the hashtags that I have in there, generally the way that I say to do hashtag research is like find an influencer, go and look at the hashtags that they're using, click one of them. It'll show you, Instagram will show you related hashtags. Now, what you want to do is come up with high, medium, and low volume hashtags. Now, by that, I mean, you want to have high volume is like every 4 minutes, something is using that hashtag. And if you click to recent, so say it's vegan to go with this, right? If you look at the vegan hashtag and you click to recent, it's going to show you every single post that's been shared like in the last hour or whatever. And however long it takes you to, you're going to scroll down and it'll say like a minute ago, 2 minutes ago, 3 minutes ago. That is a high volume hashtag. So you want to come up with about 30 of those. So you have 30 high volume hashtags. Then you come up with 30 medium volume. Medium volume is like every 6 hours to every day. And then you want to come up with 30 low volume. Now, the reason that you're coming up with all these 90 hashtags all together is you want to try and rank for popular in each of these categories, right? For all these hashtags, you want to have a post that is popular so that if people actually search that hashtag and they click to it, it goes to popular and your post shows up. But you're never going to, day one, you are not going to rank in popular for, say, vegan, right? What you need to do is like create catchments where you have 10 high volume hashtags that you're like, okay, maybe I'll like hit on one of these, but if not, then I'll have 10 medium volume and then as your very last like piece, you have low volume. So ideally you want to start to get rank into popular for those low volume hashtags, and over time slowly build up throughout. The reason that you do 30, 30, and 30 is so that you can create 3 groups. So you take 10 high volume, 10 medium volume, and 10 low volume, and you put them together into one group. And then you build another one, and then you build another one. And then every time you're sharing, you have 3 different groups to pick from, right? Over time, you can start to like drop hashtags out or put different ones in and see what's going to actually work for you. Because the hard part with doing 30 hashtags though is like doing hashtag analysis and understanding which hashtags are working for you is pretty difficult. But you can do it, right? So that's the like 30, 30, 30 or high volume, low volume, medium volume way to go about doing hashtags. Now, if you want to do hashtags in your actual copy, fine. Like, I don't know, nobody's an expert at social. And like, I've had people argue with me about this, especially like the people that are like, well, I'm an Instagram influencer. Like, fine. If you have like, you shouldn't take everything that I say here today as like, this is the thing to do on social. You should, read other articles. People will disagree with things that I am saying, and then figure out your own philosophy towards it. No one is an expert at this, but people are very bad at it too. So keep that in mind. Cool. So here are some examples. Inspiration. I hate these things, but like they crush for brands. Like when you do stuff like this, they do really well. I don't understand why, but like you can't fight the numbers. Behind the scenes, we did these where we were interviewing employees, and it was more of like a talent acquisition play, but we were doing like long form, almost blog posts. Education, we would take a blog post and turn it into like a carousel or a slideshow that would give you like the basics of that actual post. And then we'd like put the link in the bio. That's a really great way to take your content marketing or your blog and like really blow it out, right? Because you can write one blog post that's specific to whatever you're doing, and you can build a ton of assets out of that one specific blog post for all your social channels. Do not use only hashtags in your copy. Don't use low resolution images. Don't stray from a consistent brand aesthetic. Your feed is important because, like I said, like everyone will look at your feed, and if it looks janky and weird, then they'll hate you. Don't tag every brand /account /influencer you can think of, because again, there's another person or people on the other end of that account that are going to get annoyed. And don't spam out your feed. Don't post 700 times on Instagram tomorrow. Here's a checklist of the things that I just said. Cool. All right, the anatomy of a post. So this is, it's kind of similar to a lot of tweets, but obviously for Facebook or LinkedIn or any of the channels that you can kind of do this for. I just love it. This is a dope post. This posted very, very well because like it hits all the things. Subscribers and view counts aren't the only way. How to make money on YouTube without 1 million subscribers. That's like dope content marketing, because it's like how to make money on YouTube, and you immediately go like, but I don't have 1 million. Oh, without 1 million subscribers. And then a grandmother with a devil fit, like, yeah, crushes. So like, and that's the thing. We ran a couple of different tests on these, and like this one destroyed. And I didn't think it was going to, but like apparently people like metal grandma. Okay, and YouTube. So here's another example. We asked 10 entrepreneurs in the DMZ to finish this sentence. The one thing nobody told me about being an entrepreneur in gifts. And then you see Michelle from Full House, and you immediately go, what does Michelle from Full House have to do with any of this? And the only way for you to find out is to click the link, drink the Kool-Aid, give me the monies. But like that's what you want to keep in mind, right? And this is what I was talking about with like threading the needle for threading the needle for clickbait. Like this is, it's real close. It's real close to the line. But it's not like, you'll never guess what these entrepreneurs told us. So what have I done? So the actual social copy is this: we asked 10 entrepreneurs. So the copy that does not duplicate the title of the article. Copy is not a full paragraph. Full width article image. So OpenGraph is in use, but this title is a little bit long. Compelling article title, full lead, OpenGraph is enabled, tagging of relevant brands, no hashtags unless it's for brand personality or for an event. There are a bunch of studies that have been done that if you have a hashtag on Facebook, it like decreases your engagement by half. Tag relevant brands, copy should add context but not be overly promotional, and hashtags are okay to support an event. Oh yeah, I have that again. Okay. And then here's another example of like just an image that we shared. You would never put spend on this on the Facebook platform because it is more than 20% text. But yeah, there's an example. Here's some more stuff, like a knowledge drop. What I'm trying to do here is like overwhelm people. So I pulled this like crazy quote from this really great blog post. But the whole point is like, I'm trying to make people go like, whoa, what are they saying there? Because then they click it. And the people that do know it are like, yeah, this is my jam, and they share it, right? They want to be identified with that. The explainer, every brand has a story to tell. Here's how to tell yours, how to build a brand story, lessons from retail branding experts. Sloganish, do things, tell people, short and to the point. So do not on Facebook or LinkedIn post with usernames. Don't hashtag like a crazy person. Don't share a link and post the title as your copy as well. Don't leave links in your copy. Now with e-com, if you're doing this, I've seen like some media buyers and people that are running ads kind of leave links in their copy as well as like, and then they have an image and they run it and it performs very well for conversions. Most of the time though, what I find is like if you leave a link in the copy, it confuses people. Don't tag users in copy that you hope will share. Don't share photos that are portrait, like 4x5 is on Facebook. So like maybe instead of just crotch shots, you might get like your shoulders and maybe your mouth in there and like down to your knees. Don't ask for people to like or follow you on other social media channels. Don't share links that do not contain properly formatted title, image, and description. Don't share the same post over and over again. Don't ask for likes. Here's a checklist of the things I just said. All right, Facebook ads. Facebook ads and social ads are literally my job, and I can talk about these 2 slides for the next 4 years if somebody let me. But I tried to just like break this down into like something really easy and really simple. I do want to say like, be ready to lose whatever you're going to spend, right? Like Facebook, especially if you've never done it before, it's gambling. And it takes a while and it takes money to be able to sort out what works. So go in thinking, I'm probably going to lose this money. Like even I do this for a living. And when I had that vegan organic deodorant company, I didn't test anything. I didn't go slow. And I burned through like $1,000 of my own money in a week because I was like, I know what I'm doing. Except no, I didn't, because I don't know anything about vegan organic deodorant. And I got 0 sales for $1,000 of my own money, which was real fun to talk to my wife about. See that one I bought that just died. Yes, I made the right call. Okay. So start small. Start with your organic post. Put some posts out on your page. Then drop them in, build an interest-based audience, especially if you don't have any site visitors, right? If you have people that have like bought your product and you have a pixel on your site, got to have a pixel on your site. If you have people that have been on your site, you can create lookalike audiences from that. But if you haven't, then create an interest-based audience, create a month-long campaign. It's generally around $150 for the minimum spend. and then drop all of your organic posts into it and see what bubbles to the top. Generally, if you don't have enough site traffic, you're going to want to run landing page views or like link clicks essentially to try and bolster the amount of people that have been to your site. The hope is that they start to push down the funnel so that if it's e-com, because that's easy for everybody to understand, if you do landing page views on your main homepage, then you try and push people to like a product page eventually. Then once you get enough of those people, hopefully some people start to add to cart and purchase, and then you start to optimize towards adding to cart, and then you optimize towards purchases. What you need to be aware of is that you need 50 conversions. If you're going to run a conversion campaign on Facebook, you need 50 conversions in 7 days. So if it costs you $10 per conversion, then you have to spend $500 in a week to hit 50 conversions to exit the learning phase, right? So you probably want to start up funnel opposed to like landing page views. After you get decent traffic to your site, you can create a lookalike audience based on your pixel and use that for your next month-long campaign. Start small and scale when you know what works. Test multiple versions of the same ad with different copy, different imagery, different titles. Turn off the Facebook audience network. That is when you're on a website and you see the same ad that you've been seeing on Facebook or Instagram, it's because they have the audience network turned on. It runs more like a programmatic or a display network. And I have yet to see anybody find success with an audience network turned on. So don't waste your money on that. But select all other placements, all Instagram, all Facebook, all Messenger. That is what the Facebook algorithm does very, very well, is that it will find wherever those people, the people that will click through to blogs, the people that will spend more time on your site, the people that will buy things from you. The Facebook algorithm is bar none the best at finding the people that will do those things. So start with top of funnel objectives, like I said, like landing page views or product page views, and move down the funnel slowly. Retargeting and lookalikes are solid first bets. Whoo! Okay, so to summarize all of these things, what you should always keep in mind whenever you're posting to social or advertising or anything is just ask yourself, would I retweet, share, or engage with this if I happen to see it from another person on social media, right? That is the best way to gauge. Be self-aware. Know if your content sucks and then pull it back. Try not to use the same content theme twice in a row. Users viewing your feed for the first time may think that's all you talk about. Always provide value. Always think is this valuable to whoever your target segment is? Never spam out your feed. Strike a maintainable balance between primary and secondary content. Jab, 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 right hook. Give, ask, right? That's the easiest way to build a social following is give content, give value, show value on a regular basis, and then ask every once in a while. Always engage. If somebody replies to you on Twitter, try and engage with them. Try to say even just thank you or their tweet or something. Do not write social copy like a 12-year-old that's texting their friends. If you are going to our no. You're as much as you're maybe people will identify with it. You're gonna piss more people off than you are gonna get people that are gonna be this is great. There are a couple that are all right. Tomorrow we're using ampersand if you need the space. Tweet and post like a human. And I think this is one of the hardest things for people to kind of wrap their head around, because they go into this I am a brand now, and I'm gonna tweet as a brand, and what ends up coming out is robot voice, and it never sounds like a human actually did that, right? Brands are just people writing things, but then putting a different name on it. So keep that in mind. And what I generally do is obviously this this voice is not the voice of Shopify. So what I generally try and do is like just squish down all the bad parts of my personality and use the parts of my personality that kind of like play in that space. And I would, you know, people will talk about how everyone does tone training and stuff like we all train so that we have the same voice. Meh, it's kind of bullshit. Like, you know, especially if you're a small company, like you get to create whatever that brand personality is. And then you'll eventually just start to slide into it where it becomes easy to like think about like who you are as that brand, right? It's like acting, I guess. I'm not an actor, but like it's that. And then keep in mind, like, you are your target demographic. You probably care the most. Like if you've either taken a job somewhere or you're building a company or whatever, even if you aren't your end user, you probably have a pretty solid understanding of who you're going after, right? And like what they want to hear. So keep in mind that like, you know if those people are going to enjoy it or not. Tools. So Hootsuite, Buffer, TweetDeck, Sprout Social are all like scheduling and monitoring tools. Twitter Analytics, Facebook Insights, Google Analytics can be super helpful in figuring out what is working and what isn't working. Other tools are like socialblade.com gives you an overview of other social accounts. Tweetbinder does hashtag analytics. Pushbullet I used to use because every notification that went to my phone would show up on my computer, which is a little bit better. Have mobile apps for Twitter and Facebook pages, just so you can engage on the fly. Bitly and UTM.io. If you don't know what UTMs are, Google them and then find out what they are so that you can apply them to any of your content so that it's cleaner in your back end to go through all this data. Canva for quick image creation. Canva has a bunch of dope tools. And also Sprout Social has a wicked tool for resizing called Sprout Landscape. And then private Twitter lists, create them, stalk people, and then eventually follow them, but only when they deserve it. Measurement. So how do you measure social? You guess off the start, right? Guess, test, measure, adapt, rinse, repeat. Like that's the name of the game. Something that works today might not work in 3 weeks. Something that didn't work today might work 3 months from now. But always be like guessing and testing new content themes, then measure and over time, what's going to happen is you'll understand your community, what they value, and have the ability to provide them engaging content. If you're looking, even if you just kind of glance at your analytics every day, you're going to start to get a sense of like, all right, what does my engagement rate looks like? How many impressions am I getting per post? How many link clicks? Which content themes are over and underperforming? I mean, back in the day, I used to do like tweets that sucked doc, and we would go through from every month and we'd say like, all right, what are the 3 tweets that sucked the most? And what are the 3 tweets that did the best? And we would do that across all social platforms. And we would share, like we'd write down like what content theme it was, what time it went out at, what day it went out at, what the copy was, what the media was, if there was a link or an image or if it was just text. And then we would look over month, we would start to look for trends and say like, okay, well, this content theme isn't working, or this one is, or like we shouldn't be posting on Thursdays at 4 a.m. Like things like that. You are consistently testing. Every tweet, every Facebook post is a test, right? So that you can build like an engaged audience, that when you really have something that you want people to see, that like that right hook part, not the jab, jab, jab thing, but when you want to throw that right hook, you have all the data available to you to know like, okay, Sundays at 7 p.m. I get the most engagement. That's when we should launch this like product. Further reading, jab, 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 right hook. I'm not a huge fan of Gary Vaynerchuk and like the hustle porn that he's all about. But the book is very good. On Marketing by Scott Stratton is really good. And then Hooked by Nir Eyal is a book about product and habit forming product, but it plays in the social space relatively well. And then online, these are the things that I read or listen to. If you are into like Facebook ads at all, David Herman on Twitter is the fucking man. He's very much like e-commerce and D2C, but even for me, I'm like, yeah, this guy knows what's up. And he just shares dope content. All these other things. Honestly, like the Shopify blog is, I mean, I know that I sound like I'm trying to promote it, but the content there is pretty great. Like the content marketers that we have really know their shit and do their research. And I believe that is it. Cool. Now what? Is Cleo?
Okay, thank you. So I emailed you the now it's a very long question document with 28 questions from the audience for you.
Cool.
You were super funny, and I laughed the whole time. So if you go right into your email, you'll have access to the Google Doc, and then basically we can just start answering a bazillion questions.
Dope. Okay. Sorry, I just realized that I didn't send you that deck. I just realized that was still
in the chat.
Yeah, I know. That's an old link. The new I updated this deck today, but like it's still essentially the same. There are like 4 or 5 things that are just like different.
Noted.
I'm gonna text my wife and say, "Is there beer?"
The important things in life,
right? Okay. Sorry, I'm gonna open this doc now. I hope that was okay, guys. I have no idea if it was or not because I'm just literally. All right. Okay. Any marketing suggestions due to impact of COVID? Yeah. Don't cross the line. Like, make sure that and sometimes you're gonna want to shut it down, right? Right now is not the time to be blasting out just randomness. I don't know. Like, if you don't think that your business kind of fits into this right now, don't try and shoehorn your way in, right? Like, be very aware, because the last thing that you want to do in a scenario like this is give people a reason to be real pissed off with you. So like, if you think it's questionable, it's probably not a thing you should run, right? I would try and be positive. I would try to not jump into it full bore, because that might hurt your brand more than it would help it. Like, from a Shopify perspective, I'm sure that my PR team does not want me weighing in on this whatsoever, but like, we're in there are businesses that are in specific situations where they can say like, okay, like if somebody's looking to take their business online right now, we're there. But I'm not going out saying like, hey, are you impacted by COVID? Come start your business. Like, that's not even close to what I'm going out with, right? So I'm trying to keep it very much down the pipe, right? Exactly what we do. If you're interested in that, cool. If you're not, cool. But I'm definitely not trying to like jump in and like get in front of people. So there's that. I hear my child coming close to the door. I'm afraid. Okay. I'm not sure if you can answer this. I heard it's possible to use a keyword too many times. Oh, on Instagram? Oh, on a website. On a website. Yeah. I don't know for sure how many times you can actually use it or not. but I think that you can overdo it. I'm not the SEO guy. The people that I work with that have SEO backgrounds would murder me if I tried to answer this question because I don't really know what the answer is. Is there a way to see what page of Google you rank on, I assume is the rest of this question? Yeah, in an incognito window, just search. You can also, Google Search Console will show you roughly, I believe. It's been a while. Yeah, sorry.
So to clarify that question, it was I might have a little bit. I might have gotten deleted, but like in terms of like per keyword. So if say you're using a keyword like red, is there a way that you can type in that keyword and type in what your website's URL is or your blog post URL is and see where that page is linking in comparison to that keyword?
Oh, yeah, there are tools like Ahrefs and SEMrush, I believe but those are paid tools. So yeah, I'm getting out of my depth on the website questions. But I'm sure you could Google it. Okay. But is that all right? I hope that's okay. I don't know.
Yeah, absolutely. I wasn't sure if it was in your wheelhouse, but thank you for trying.
Yeah. Okay. Can I explain the concept of pixels for retargeting to someone who had never heard of it before? Okay, here's the easiest thing to do. Get the, if you're using Chrome as a browser, get the Pixel Helper. It's a Chrome extension, and it will show you on every single website what the Facebook pixel is tracking. So if you go to a specific page on any website, it's going to fire. And it's going to say page view on this thing. It's a cookie. A pixel is a cookie. It's just feeding back to Facebook and saying like, hey, this person, and it ties to your user ID. So it's saying this person, what's powerful about the pixel is that you're probably logged into Facebook and Instagram on both your phone and your computer, right? The average cookie will only track on one device. So if I see your ad on Facebook and then I click it and then I put this down and you don't have a pixel and then I go to my laptop and I type in your brand, you don't know that I actually saw that Facebook ad. But Facebook, through its pixel and because I'm logged into Facebook on both devices, can track across those platforms. So that's why having a pixel on your site so you can track every single person that's logged into Facebook. And I know that this sounds sketchy, right? Like I am literally the biggest advocate of like anti-Facebook too, because like kind of evil. But that is the way that like online advertising works, right? Is that there are pixels and you are tracked on websites. That's why things like GDPR and things like that exist. So that you're being tracked. But literally, they have reams of if you're logged into WhatsApp or Instagram or Facebook, guess what? Like it doesn't matter if you don't have the other ones. They have all your data anyway. Okay, my Instagram account wasn't approved for Instagram business. I followed the rules. I tried to do it's a Shopify question. Okay, yeah. Advice to if you get rejected for Instagram, uninstall the app and then reinstall it and go through the platform again. I've had that happen with a couple of mine too. Even with like the Facebook team, I hit them up and I'm like, hey, whitelist me. And they're like, no, it doesn't work that way. But if you reapply, a lot of times you'll get through. Just like delete the entire app from your Shopify store. I'm not saying like the Instagram app, but the Instagram sales channel, delete it from your Shopify store, and then go through the whole process again. A lot of times though, like you do have to have like kind of a following as well. So if you only have like 10 followers and you only have one post, then they'll just keep shutting you down. Hopefully that helps. I'm trying to like flip back and forth between these things just in case somebody just let me know if somebody's saying something. Okay. Instagram account. No. All right. That one's done. In terms of programmatic marketing, I assume, or program marketing, programmatic marketing. for nonprofits, such as government figures, and how do you overcome that through social? Oh, engage stakeholders who are fundamentally okay, I need a little bit more on this one. Like when I worked with nonprofits, projects such as government figures, and how did you overcome that through social? I mean, if you have government people trolling you, I like, maybe that's simplifying this. Or like they are, yeah, like it sounds to me like they're trolls. Dear, can I have a beer? Can you grab me one? She just closed the door and was like, no, it's bath time. Okay, fuck it. All right. In terms of okay, so yeah, I don't know if that's answering your question. How did you, Ada? Do you want to add anything there? Like, I would say kill them with kindness through your social, I guess. Like, I don't know where they're disagreeing with you. If they're disagreeing with you on social, like, generally you don't want to engage unless it's going to be bulletproof. And like, unless you're really sure that there's no way that they could either take it out of context or come back at you with something else, like, it's best to not engage and not have that conversation through social, other than like you can use social proof to show that something is worthwhile, and maybe that turns the tides. Hopefully that helps. Okay, can you expand on how to run Instagram through an advert platform? Yeah, okay. Facebook Business Manager is what you want to create. Then you tie your Instagram account and a Facebook page, because you want to just create, even if you're going to run on Instagram only, just create a Facebook page anyway. You add your Instagram account, you add your Facebook account to a specific ad account. So there's a business manager that oversees everything on Facebook. You can have multiple ad accounts within it. Then you have an ad account, and in that you put Instagram and Facebook, and you go into Facebook Ads Manager, and that's where you run ads from. It allows you to optimize those ads across all the different social platforms, or all the different placements throughout like Facebook and Instagram. And it is way better than just running it from your phone, right? You can upload high resolution images. You can, thank you, dear. Oh, I thought I was going to get rejected. Great. Okay. So that's just look up like Facebook Ads Manager or Facebook Business Manager. There is a program called Facebook Blueprint that kind of walks you through all the Facebook ad platform. And I believe it's free, but there are a ton of free assets or courses and everything. Even Shopify has one on like how to run Facebook ads. And that would be pretty good. As an independent business owner, should my LinkedIn page be different from my personal account? Absolutely. Okay, so LinkedIn, yes, you should have a business page and your personal account. Even if it's only you that works there, you want to have a business page, and then it's like saying, should your personal Facebook account be your business account? Unless if your business is your name, but even on LinkedIn, you still want to have your own page. Like, I know that Cleo has her own communications thing, but she has her LinkedIn page for that, and then she has her personal account. Where was it? Same for Twitter. It depends on if you're like a service, then maybe it's just you. Like if you were like a social media consultant or something like that, like maybe it's just you. But if you're going to turn your entire personal thing into like a business focused structure, maybe. Because like I can understand not wanting to create 2 Twitter accounts, because then you have to manage both of them. And even when I had my own business, like that was super difficult. I like barely ever posted for the business. So that would depend a little bit more on whatever type of business you have. 9, gone. Cool. 10. How should you list your business on LinkedIn if you operate as a sole proprietor? For example, if I provide a freelance service. Oh, should I list it? Okay, you can say that you, when you have, very similar to, I guess, the one above, when on your LinkedIn profile, your personal profile, you say that you work for your business, right? And say your business is even like your name, it's probably something else too, right? It's probably not just like, you don't have Brent Sterling the person and then Brent Sterling the business. You probably have like Brent Sterling Social Services or whatever that is, right? Within the listing, the actual like business profile listing, that's that part, you can like, that's where you list like what your services are. Wait, am I just presenting the end of my screen here? I'll stop doing that so you guys can like see my face. Okay. Oh, sorry. I forgot about that. Where am I? So yeah, you should have like a LinkedIn business page. And then you can list your services there. What are some examples of companies using Facebook to reach non-user segments, such as advertisers, promotional partners, etc.? Shopify? We do that. We have a whole partner program that we run. Like, you can do it from a brand awareness standpoint. You can do it, like, you could try and hit people. I mean, even now, what I do, like, and then Shopify is at a totally different, like, growth stage, right? So we have the ability to kind of, like, play at all stages of the funnel. We currently, like, I'll build audience through video views, right? To try and like segment them out. But again, like, lots of people are looking for partners or advertisers or any of that. Like, I would look for the companies that are actually, that's their business, and then go and look at what they're doing. Facebook ads library is great for this. If you've never looked at it, it can show you can see every single ad that a brand is running on Facebook right now, in every single country, in every single language. So if you've never been on Facebook ads library, go look, because it's cool. What's a good follow ratio on Instagram? If you have less than 500 on both sides, you're fine, right? Like, kind of play around. After that, you definitely want to be following less people. If you have, everybody knows this, right? Like, somebody that has 30,000 followers, but is also following 30,000 people, you're like, this is all bullshit. So you definitely want to be less. I generally try to never go over like 2,000 to 3,000 with any account, because it essentially says like, I'm not paying attention to the actual like feed, right? Nobody can follow more than 3,000 people and actually keep up. So if you have 30,000 followers, only be following 3,000 people, unless there are that many people that deserve a follow. Hope that works. How can we learn about the algorithms for each social? You can't. Some of the things that I listed will kind of play at it, but it's like a black box. Nobody knows. So people will make observations around things that they've seen. Like, the Facebook algorithm years ago used to optimize towards images and memes, and then it moved back to like optimizing towards links, and like, but you kind of see that in the data over time. Facebook doesn't come out every once in a while. They'll come out and say like, now we're prioritizing this, but they're never going to say like, okay, here are all the things to like perfectly play our algorithm. Where did I get my stock photos from? Oh, Gratis Photography or something. Yeah, they are dope. This guy is amazing. It's like Gratisography. Here, I'll put it in the chat. It's kind of nice that I'm sitting on a laptop and I can just like Google the answers. There. All right. How do you monitor keywords via Hootsuite? You do a search, create a search, and then put specific keywords in there, and then it just shows you every time somebody uses that word. So as a really good example, Etsy came out with a couple of weeks ago. They told everybody, all their users, that they were going to be forced into a mandatory ads platform, where if you made over $10,000 a year, you were going to have to pay 10% of all your sales so that Etsy could do advertising on your behalf. So then we set up a search for mandatory ads, because anytime somebody used it, we were like, hello, it's us, Shopify. We're better than them. So yeah, that's how you do it. What do I use to shorten links? UTM.io is my go-to. You can use Bitly too, but I use UTM.io so that I can not only build the UTMs, but then shorten them as well. Can you just make up hashtags on the fly with keywords? What is your strategy with proper use of hashtags? Same ones across different platforms. So you generally, hashtags, okay, the worst idea is using your brand name as a hashtag, because no one is using it. The point of a hashtag is to have people join in on the conversation, right? So, or it's like a conversation that's already started and is going. So you most likely, as a small business and even as a large business, are not going to start a hashtag. You can try for sure, but you're just wasting time and space, right? The easiest ones to kind of jump in on are your subject and your location. Those are the two easiest that you can consistently hit, right? So if you're in, especially from social, if you're building something small and you can focus on hyper local to start, it's the easiest way to build a following. If you're in Toronto, focus on Toronto and just try and own Toronto before you go no, we're going nationwide. If you blast everywhere, then it gets really, really hard, right? If you focus on Toronto specifically and try and build at least a little bit of a market there, then you can start to expand out. So only use hashtags that people are actually using. Making up, and you can make up any hashtag you want. You could put supercalifragilisticexpialidocious as a hashtag if you wanted to. The point of a hashtag is to bring a conversation together so that other users can click that and then see everything about it, right? So if you think about on Instagram, if I want to see just vegan content, I'm probably just going to follow the hashtag vegan hashtag. Sorry, I just said hashtag vegan. I'm going to follow the vegan hashtag. That's what I'm going to do, right? Or I'm going to search it and I'm just going to scroll through the most popular or even the most recent, right? But popular is curating that list so that it's only showing the most popular content so that people are like, oh, this is great, I love it. If you're trying to create your own for no reason, and I see this all the time, where I did a talk recently at a university and kids got me to rip apart their social for their businesses, and one was just using different variations of their own name as hashtags. No one's searching for that. That's doing nothing for you. It basically is telling social natives I don't know what I'm doing. When in doubt, don't use them. I have no idea if I'm answering these questions full out for you or not. I'm just yeah, and my rant is done, I guess. Okay. Shit. Social media shares versus channels on your website. Oh, yeah. All right. So channels you want on your main homepage and probably in your footer 100% of the time, or in the top right. Social shares are specific to the page or the blog post that people are on. So different buttons, and in different places generally. At the end of an article, you have a social share, and maybe at the top of it, and then in your footer or your header is where you keep your social icons. What host do I recommend for the website? Also, do you recommend WordPress as a platform of choice for a website? Well, obviously, I would recommend Shopify. If you're trying to sell a thing, Shopify is definitely, and like, I know that it sounds like I'm wearing like the Shopify shirt and stuff, but like I've worked there for as long as I have because it's just a really dope platform. Now, if you're not trying to sell something, like if you're never going to sell a thing or get into e-commerce or merch or whatever, I always used to build on WordPress. Hosting, I had friends host for me, so I'm probably not the best for that. But yeah, I used WordPress because I hate the drag and drop and I want to jump into the code and be able to like switch stuff around. So I like that for WordPress, but it was like easy enough to kind of manage too. I've tried like Wix and Squarespace and stuff. I can't get into the drag and drop. It just it blows my mind. I don't, when people are just dragging and dropping to build a site, and like if I'm trying to optimize like image sizes and stuff, I want to just be able to type it in. I don't want to drag and drop. I can't stand it. But like lots of people use Squarespace. So I guess if I had to say one, I'd say that. But I mean, try them. Just try. Like they all have free trials, and they all have their drawbacks and they all have their positives. I guess it's like, what do you think looks good, is easy for you to kind of play around with, and then when you find flaws, just yell at their support team. Just not Shopify's though. I like those guys, and they already get crushed on a regular basis. Okay. I hope that answers your question. Hashtags on a podcast. I saw that as soon as you use the same hashtag on a new post, the algorithm removes your old post from that hashtag. Is that true? No, it is not. Hashtags in caption or comments. I put them in comments. You can put them in the caption.
So that was for Instagram. I don't know why it says podcasts.
Oh, sorry. No, it doesn't. Oh, it's okay. For Instagram, whatever. As soon as you post the same hashtag on a new post, the algorithm removes your old post from that hashtag. I'd probably not. Like, I can't 100% say yes or no, but probably not. There's most of the stuff that you hear around Instagram, like shadow banning and stuff like that, isn't true. It's just randos tossing it out there. For Insta, hashtags in the caption or the comments, either or. I put them in the comment. Lots of people don't like that. It's kind of, yes, they are. Before you end up, they are equally effective. As long as you're not like dropping it in like 24 hours later, right? Like in the comments. What are your thoughts on tagging companies in photos that showcase their products? So for instance, I do interior. Yeah, that's fine. When it makes sense, tag them, right? If you're using an IKEA product, I guarantee you the IKEA team wants to see that. But if you're just randomly tagging to be like, a lot of it is just generally like influencers. But you don't want to go so crazy, right? You don't want to tag IKEA in every single post, unless, I mean, maybe you can. I always think about like just the person on the other end of that having to deal. Yeah, if it's an IKEA product, I would tag it. But then I immediately thought like, if I'm Sephora and it's just somebody tagging Sephora every time because they're a makeup artist, like I'm gonna lose my mind. But that's probably a thing that they're into too. Please explain what a pixel is and Open Graph. So I think I already did the pixel. Open Graph is it's ogp.me is the site. It is a protocol that tells a social platform what to share when a link is shared. So it tells Facebook, use this image, this title, and this description for this URL or link when it is shared. That is the easiest way to do it or to explain it. Hopefully that gets it. Whew. Oh, why did my organic deodorant business fail, and what would I do differently? It failed because I have a 3-year-old and a full-time job. Um, and my partner moved to Spain. Um, so we were like, do we want to continue doing this? And we didn't. Like it was okay. Like it did all right. And we actually timed it relatively well for like that like vegan organic deodorant phase. We just neither of us, he owned a bunch of restaurants. I was doing Shopify stuff and other freelance gigs. And I didn't have enough time to properly like market it. Um, but it was a really good time, and I learned a lot of stuff, and it only cost us. I think we ended up breaking even. We probably lost a little bit of money, but like that's how you learn. Okay, do you? Oh my gosh, is this from above? Do you search for appropriate hashtags and pick fitting ones to hashtag your comments? Yes. If you go back to when I explain it, that's exactly what I say. You just want to look for volume. Good. Did you just dump everybody? What just happened? Everyone just like went away. Okay. Has Facebook marketing getting likes, followers? Okay. Facebook marketing. Yeah, to a point. I mean, you should like okay, don't ever run ads to get likes or followers or whatever. Like don't run ads to get engagement or like for vanity metrics, right? If you're at so I know that this isn't the question, I'll get to it, but like just as a like a caveat, like um don't uh don't ever run campaigns for vanity metrics that aren't going to impact your business whatsoever. Who cares if you have 10,000 likes on Facebook or 10,000 followers on Instagram, if none of them give a shit about your company because they only liked your page because you ran an ad, what does that matter? Now, is it more difficult? For sure. It's crowded out there. To gain likes on Facebook, easiest thing to do is to use Facebook, your Facebook page, like use Facebook as your page and go out and engage with other brands. You can actually follow and like other brands as your page and then go and comment on their stuff on the bigger companies to try and draw people over to you without being like douchey or spammy or weird, right? Just go in, be funny, be personable. Yeah, Twitter is hard. The thing is that like this is the same thing. If you're providing value, you will find followers, right? If you're providing value to your end user or to whoever your target demographics, followers will show up eventually, right? It takes a while. Like I always say with any kind of like freelance client, it's going to take 3 to 4 months before you see anything out of organic social. Any tips for running a social media giveaway? The goal of getting people to sign up on your website / follow you. There are some like laws around this. We used to use a thing called Gleam. I think it's GLEAM.io, I think, that kind of covers off the like all the legalities of it. Giveaway. I was always kind of against these. Like with getting someone to sign up on your website or follow, like just the whole like tag us and follow us and then you'll be entered. Like I fucking hate that. Like just have good content. Otherwise you get these people that will jump from deal to deal to deal that are just like looking for like okay, I'll like you on Facebook if I get a thing. Sign up on your website for sure. I mean, I would just drive them. I mean, you can either do a form on social, but that's a paid thing. So, I mean, ideally, you get them to do something on your site, and you try and drive them there, and then they fill that out, right? Like that's the what you want to do is reduce the steps. So, and you want to make that form like as quick and as painless as possible. So like the least amount, and make sure that it autofills and all that stuff. You always want to think about like, what does this entire flow look like? I know this isn't necessarily answering your question, but hopefully that's okay. Like, yeah, just drive them to a site where they fill out a thing and they're entered, right? But they also have to then like check a box that says like, I'm cool for marketing. Because otherwise you're just going to bring in, like, the only fear is that you bring in those people that are literally combing through social looking for deals or potential giveaways. Bitly versus TinyURL. Yep. I don't know. I've only used Bitly. I've never used TinyURL. Like I was saying, UTM.io is relatively good because it helps you build a UTM and it has a shortener. And it's a Chrome extension and it's free. So maybe try that one. I don't know anything about TinyURL. I'm sorry. Which social media platform is most used for technical information sharing? For instance, which social media would you check for the most critical? Oh, Twitter. Well, okay, wait. Most credible? Like none of them. I would read a website. But like Twitter is where like news happens. Now, Reddit is also really good for discussion. But like it's a little bit scary too. Facebook most definitely not, and definitely not Instagram. So Twitter and Reddit, and maybe LinkedIn, but that'd be weird to be talking about coronavirus on LinkedIn. Weight loss meal plan, ebook. Okay. I don't know. You guys, maybe you guys can see these. My product is a weight loss meal plan ebook, 25 to 35 North American females. Website is a landing page. I'm currently doing organic Instagram marketing. 3 questions. 1, I want to narrow my niche, weight loss, to rank better. Advice? So many companies are paying so much on AdWords to rank better on Google. Like that, you'll just, unless you have so much money, you'll never rank there. Rank better from a social standpoint. I don't know how you do that. I'm thinking this is a search thing. 2, branding. Currently white and orange, girly, smiley. But do I need specific colors, fonts, more advanced branding? Yeah, kind of. Just come up with like a palette. There are a bunch of like generators around this. I can't even think of the name, like color palette generator. Even when we did the Storm and Leaf stuff, like we paid a designer to do like a full, not only just the logo, but like brand guidelines and colors. So like come up, and you can do this on your own too. You don't need to pay somebody, right? But like come up with like, all right, what's the font that you use? What are your accent colors? How is your brand? Like it just helps you to kind of hammer down and be consistent. You don't 100% have to do it, but you can. 3. I really want to get into Facebook ads, or should? No, do all of it. Okay, so yeah, like get Facebook Ads Manager, include your Instagram. Make sure you have a pixel on your site, and then start to fuck around. Just take $5 a day. The thing is like I said, right? Be ready to lose it. Like the only way that you learn how to do ads is to run them, and that generally means you have to spend your own money, or somebody else's, or convince somebody else to let you spend their money, which is a massive barrier to entry. But like go and learn about Facebook ads first. Take some classes. Like there are tons of free things online. Maybe you hope that I was going to do all those things, but that would have taken me forever. Sorry. Are you still running Secret Weapon Media Company exclusively for Shopify? So like I did up until I was running Secret Weapon Media And I had a couple people working for me up until about a year ago, I guess. Yeah, just over a year. It just got to a point where like my kid was getting older and I'd get home and I didn't want to have to do freelance stuff too. Um, so I mean, I love doing it. I would just do social 100% of the time if I could, but I also my kid's okay. And he hasn't come in here at all, and that's amazing. He's getting popsicles tomorrow. Social listening tools, like the smaller one, depending on what you're going to spend, right? Like Hootsuite and Sprout, all of them have some form of social listening. I mean, if you're talking about like the hardcore ones, like Sysmos and Brandwatch and Crimson Hex, probably like Crimson Hexagon, because I think that they just merged with Brandwatch about a year ago, so that would be the top. Synthesio I used for a while, but I think that now Crimson Hexagon is far better just because it owns two, it combined two. Clarify Open Graph once more. Yeah, just Google what Open Graph is. Sorry guys. Like there are so many things about Open Graph. We will never go viral. How do you define viral? Okay, so you said we will never go viral, but how do you define viral? What amounts of success can we expect with social? What is too far-fetched? Assuming for both a Shopify store and as an influencer. Okay, all I'm saying is that going viral is not a marketing strategy. It's not something that you should rely on, right? Yeah, there's an element of virality with anything that you're going to share, in that like it can start to take off. Are you the yodeling Walmart kid or like any of the bigger kind of like whatevers? Absolutely fucking not. Like it's not going to happen, right? Like and if you go in with that thought, like if you're an influencer, then maybe, but probably not even then, right? Like because these like viral things that happen are just random offshoots where they catch and they go, right? And generally it's just people. It's not a brand account. Now, if you're an influencer, yeah, potentially. But I mean, what I would generally tend to focus on, and the point that I bring up with that, right, is like focus on making every single post better, right? Focus on hitting more people than you hit with the last one. Focus on getting more engagement than you got with the last one. Focus on more link clicks. Focus on like just a little bit more, right? An average per post. So don't look at a month where you posted 500 times and say like, well, look at how much I did versus a month where you posted 100 times. What you want to look at is like per post, are you moving the needle? And that's the easiest way to like build for the long term from a social standpoint. If you're always shooting your shot at like going viral, then you're going to end up with this like mishmash and weirdness on your social channels. Hopefully that makes sense. I have no idea if any of this makes sense. I've just been sitting in this room staring at my computer, talking to it. Okay. All right. So this says, sorry, you can expect so much success on social and so little. It just depends on, sorry, I'm going to go back to that other one because I didn't answer that question. It just depends on like how big of an audience you have and how engaged they are. Like look at what you have right now and don't think that in 3 months you're going to have 10x that, right? You just incrementally get better. Okay, you mentioned we can create private follow lists on Twitter. Is there a way to keep Instagram accounts saved without following them? I don't think so. I mean, maybe, but I've never heard of one. Any risk your blog cannibalizes your website? Absolutely. But your blog should be answering specific questions and your website should be the solution to the larger thing, right? Shopify should solve for commerce and e-commerce, but then if people are searching for like, how do I set up my online store, a blog should ideally deal with that. I mean, or if you have landing pages, once you start to build landing pages for specific search terms, then you kind of want to get your blogs out of the way. If those landing pages are optimized towards a specific funnel action, unless you find that your blog is actually converting at a higher level than your landing pages. Cool.
Amazing. Brent, you're a champion. It's been 2.5 hours and you crushed this. So high fives all around. Thank you for joining us. Everybody, thanks for a great night. I'm so glad this was like easy peasy. Brent, do you have anything else you want to add?
No, thanks for sticking around. I hope that wasn't terrible.
No, it was amazing. Yours is never terrible. Never even joke. Like, it's the best ever. So yeah, all right, guys. Well, I'll send you the survey. Everything's good. The new slide deck is up on the website. And Brent, until we meet again, my friend.
All right, I'm gonna go drink the rest of this. Cheers, guys. Thanks for coming out.